He's the Attorney General of the great state of Texas. He's been fighting against those who are doing wrong to the American people, wrong to the people of Texas for a very long time now. He's running for U.S. Senate out of the great state of Texas. It is our Attorney General Ken Paxton. Ken, how are you? Good to see you.
I'm doing great. Beautiful day in Dallas here. I was in, where was I yesterday? I was in Conroe. I was in Huntsville. I was in the Woodlands and then back to Dallas.
Here in the San Antonio area, it's nice and cool. We finally got that breeze. And like 2 days ago, I walked out, felt like it was 92. Then by that night, it was 47. Finally, I think fall has gotten to Texas. Thank goodness. I mean, listen, we like the warm temperatures, but not all year round.
No, I agree. Matter of fact, it almost felt like winter when it first came in. It was really
Yeah.
windy in Dallas. It was a little like chilly.
Let's talk about something that I know that you're going after, and it's something that the president and the HHS secretary, Bobby Kennedy Jr., and the doctors surrounding him all brought up. And there has been so much back and forth with this whole Tylenol thing. The idea that we shouldn't study if Tylenol is a problem or if acetaminophen is a problem is kind of dumb. And then we saw people online, like on TikTok and elsewhere, pregnant women taking Tylenol just because Trump said don't take Tylenol. Ken, on an attorney general level, looking out for the people of the great state of Texas, what do you know about acetaminophen or Tylenol and its effects on pregnant women, good, bad, or indifferent? What have you learned?
Yeah, so the studies that I've seen, and these were put out by the President of the United States and by Bobby Kennedy, who has a cabinet position that does this stuff, talking about the fact that Tylenol, when pregnant women take it, increases the risk of autism by almost 4 times. It's 3.6 times greater among children that have been exposed to acetaminophen prior to being born. And then, of course, ADHD, which is hyperactivity disorder
Right.
and hypertension. So that is up like I think 2.6%. So almost three times what normal levels would be. So that's a significant number of children, millions that have been affected potentially by this acetaminophen.
We went back to 2017, and the makers of Tylenol literally tweeted out in 2017, we don't recommend our products to pregnant women. And then they try to back away from it in the last month or so. How do you get away from what they literally posted themselves?
Yeah, so they posted it, but then they didn't put the warning, so people didn't really know. I mean, just because you post something on your website
Yeah,
doesn't absolve you of you haven't informed the public. I mean, how many times do you go to Johnson Johnson website just to randomly look at their website? Oh, look, this is out there. But
never.
they knew it in 2017. They did not warn. They continued to make profits, and then in 2023, they realized maybe they thought they had a problem, so they separated Tylenol, created a separate company, took all the liabilities and put them over on a separate corporation so that Johnson & Johnson would not be exposed to legal liability, which we think they still are.
Well, it's interesting because, and again, it's Attorney General Ken Paxton. Go to kenpaxton.com. He's running for U.S. Senate as well out of the great state of Texas. The interesting part to me is that they did post it in 17. And again, you're right. That's not good enough information. You've got to make sure that the possible consumers would know all the possible risks. But they posted it, which to me is an admission. At least we have that. And then they tried to say in the last month or two that, well, no, that really wasn't an admission and it was taken out of context. So, I mean, where are we right now with this whole idea? Is it your opinion as the Attorney General that they were trying to trick us in their advertising?
Well, they clearly know that there's a problem if they put the warning on their website or wherever they put it. They didn't disclose it on their product. They didn't really let consumers know that there was a risk of autism and ADHD, that it was a lot higher. It would have impacted profits. So yeah, I think they had a higher obligation, especially when you're talking about those types of impacts, autism, ADHD. Those are serious consequences to your children. And most people, I'd say a very high percentage, most women would not have taken it had they known.
You say before we had a little bit of an issue with the recording. You said something about your daughter. You talked to your daughter about this. What happened with that?
Yeah, I talked to her this morning about the acetaminophen. She goes, "Yeah, I had 4 children. She has 4 children that are 4 and under. One's almost 5." And she said, "I would not have taken it had I known, but I was always told to take Tylenol instead of ibuprofen or anything else, and so that's always what I took if I had some type of pain issue." And so she said, "If I just would have known, I wouldn't have done that."
You know, what's interesting is we just aren't getting the information, but we also don't really know when they knew about this issue or a possible issue. Does a company like these companies, do they generally speaking, before they release something like acetaminophen or Tylenol, whatever, do they generally do studies? Do they have to present those studies, show that they knew their work? Like, I'm guessing you want to know when they knew, how they knew, why they didn't tell us. I mean, how does that whole process work? Do you know?
Sound like you work for my office. You asked all the right questions. That's exactly what we want. That's what. Yeah. So normally, what you do, you have to have FDA approval for drugs, and those get approved. You have to have studies. You have to demonstrate that it's safe, that there's no major side effects, or if they are, that they're disclosed, so it's worth the risk of taking the medication. So we would expect that they have those studies, and that's what litigation involves. It involves discovery first, finding out the exact answers to the exact questions that you just asked. When did you know it? What did you know? What were the impacts? And we're going to find that out.
I'm not saying that they're liable or guilty of anything, but let's hypothetically talk about any over-the-counter drug. Period. Let's say they knew. Let's say they knew about adverse effects, did not warn or tell people about it. Let's say they just decided we're not going to post this anywhere. We're not going to tell anybody. Not going to even tell doctors. They've been pushing acetaminophen on the American public for a long time. Tylenol is the one that you go to. What are the ramifications? Is there a monetary issue? Could there be a class action issue? Is there something that you can say is criminal, possibly in a situation like this? How does this all come together?
Well, certainly other lawyers could file class actions. What we are filing, we're asking one for an injunction for them to stop marketing or at least disclose the product has potential damage to children. But we're also seeking restitution, the cost that may have been associated with some of these people.
Right.
And then also we have a deceptive trade practice, which looks at what are the damages to the public, to the people of Texas, and we get treble damages as a state. So we recover those, and then that money goes back to the state. Restitution could potentially go back to some of the consumers who are harmed.
I know, like with the Google suit and with other suits, you oftentimes will join with other states. Are there other attorneys general that are joining with you on this? Are you going this alone right now just to see what happens? Where are we with that?
Yeah, so right now it's just us. It was it was easier just to file in state court, and so that's what we're doing. We're filing by ourselves without help from other states. We don't really think we need it, so we're trying to make this thing move faster. Sometimes when you add other states, it takes longer to get the case filed. It takes longer to then you have to communicate with them. It's a lot more work. Sometimes we have good reasons for doing it, but it also adds a lot of work to the state that's actually carrying the case.
As a father, as a grandfather, you and I are both fathers and grandfathers. When you see people go online, pregnant women taking acetaminophen just to say Trump can't tell me what not to take, what do you make of that?
I talked to my daughter about this. She brought it up. I said, somewhat sick. I mean, you don't know what you're doing to your child when you do that. You may be doing nothing, or you may be creating great damage. We have studies indicating that you might be creating great damage. And even if the risk is overall relatively low, you still are increasing the risk of damage to your child that is permanent and long. It impacts the rest of their life. So I think it's definitely not good. I would say it's a bad thing to do to your unborn child.
I couldn't agree more. It's Ken Paxton, the Attorney General of the great state of Texas. He's running for U.S. Senate out of the great state of Texas, going for the seat that John Cornyn has right now. We'll talk about that in a moment. KenPaxton.com if you want to go and check out all that he's doing or support the candidacy. Ken, I don't use Yelp. I'm sure if I checked it out, I might be getting some good or some bad reviews. Who knows? But I have no idea what this story is with Yelp when it comes to pro-abort or pro-life. How are they in this fray? What is this all about?
So they seem to be discriminating against crisis pregnancy centers that are designed to prevent abortions, to educate women on other alternatives by forcing them to put on their websites or on their Yelp advertisement that they may not have medical providers there. They would have, or at least have limited medical services. Well, that may or may not be true.
Oh.
It's definitely designed to discriminate against pregnancy centers.
So you found that Yelp was literally, what could be, you don't know that, like you said, they could, maybe they aren't, but they could be discriminated against those that are offering, medical services to pregnant women by pretending that they don't do the services that the women thought they were doing. I mean, that's really sneaky, Ken. That's pretty dastardly.
Yeah, and it's also they they didn't make abortion providers who don't always, like Planned Parenthood doesn't always have medical providers,
Right.
but they don't make them put that out. So they're not even treating people equally or in organizations equally. It definitely seemed designed to discriminate against crisis pregnancy centers that are designed to stop abortion if they can.
It's amazing. It's Ken Paxton, the Attorney General of the great state of Texas, running for U.S. Senate out of the great state of Texas. Let's talk about that Senate race. I know that you saw a piece that I did the other day on the Chris Salcedo show on Newsmax. And I don't dislike John Cornyn. I know the guy. He's been my senator for a long time. But on many issues, he doesn't come down on the side that I come down on, like red flag laws, which I think are ridiculous, like his pro-war stance, and he actually went to Ukraine and so on. But there was one thing that Cornyn is doing that was discussed on that show the other day that I think you saw the segment where I guess Cornyn is showing ads, or the political action committees that are supporting his reelection are showing ads with him standing with Donald Trump and almost alleging Trump is endorsing him. I mean, is that in political advertising? Is that okay if you didn't really get the endorsement, but you present as if you did?
Well, whether it's okay or not, he's obviously not telling the truth. He did not like Donald Trump, did not want him to win in 2016, said he was an albatross around our neck. And in 2024, he said he would be supporting somebody else, that Donald Trump was not a good choice, and he insinuated that he was guilty of, Russian crimes. So, he's just being dishonest, saying he votes with President Trump 99% of the time. What does that even mean? There's no way to even figure out what that means because Donald Trump doesn't really have a legislative agenda. It's
right.
It's a false advertising. It's absolutely false advertising.
So why take him on? I mean, he's somebody who's been in that office for so long. He'll have the I next to his name on the ballot. I know that you're well known. You've been a very good attorney general for our state. And I think that you would be great in a different office. But why take him on right now? Do you feel like there's a chink in the armor where there might be an opportunity here?
More than a chink. He's running for his fifth term. No one's ever done that in Texas history. Not Sam Houston, not LBJ, not John Tower, not Phil Gramm. No one's ever run for 30 years in the U.S. Senate from Texas. And I've asked this across the state since I started running April the 8th. I've asked people, John Cornyn's been serving for 23 years in the U.S. Senate, for 40 years overall. Can you name one remarkable thing, not the bad stuff we've talked about, can you name one remarkable thing that he's accomplished over those 40 years? No one's ever answered that question. No, not one single person ever stood up. Yeah, John Cornyn did this one remarkable thing. I can tell you this: other than Thanksgiving and Christmas weeks, look at any 2-week period I've been in office in the Attorney General's office. I've accomplished more in 2 weeks, any 2-week period that you want to pick, than he's accomplished in 40 years. We need a change. He is not doing the job. He's just working with the Washington establishment. He no longer represents Texas.
It's Ken Paxton. He's running against John Cornyn next year. It is kenpaxton.com. Go there. It's Paxton. Let's talk about the unfair advantage I know that you feel incumbents have. And you educated me about this a little bit before we started the interview today. The incumbent gets a bunch of money available. Now, you're both running, and I'm guessing that there's money available. You're out there raising money like a crazy man. I've seen it. But John Cornyn or any incumbent has an advantage. Can you explain to my audience why?
Yeah, so John McCain and Russ Feingold passed McCain-Feingold years ago, and he claimed that it was to get money out of politics. John McCain did get money out of politics, but he only got it from the challenger side. He limited contributions to it used to be less, but $7,000 a person, $14,000 a couple. That's for both the primary, which you can only spend half of it on the primary and half in the general. The incumbents, on the other hand, they can actually raise more because they have special committees. They can take 14,000, 14,000, 14,000. They can raise 8, 9 times what I can raise by using these special committees. No one knows about it. No one knows they do this, and they get away with it. And it allows incumbents to win almost every single time. The advantage that we've gotten back is the Supreme Court created super PACs. So we can go and raise super PACs. They have some severe limitations, and you can't really ask for money. But it's those super PACs help you kind of even up the score. But still, they have such huge advantages because the rules favor them.
So when you say committees, are these actual governmental committees? Are these committees outside of government? How does that work?
Political committees. And so they'll take $14,000 contributions or $7,000 a person, $14,000 a couple. It allows you to, instead of getting just $14,000, you get another 14 and another 14. And depending how many committees they work with, there are many, they can get sometimes 126,000 or more, depending on how many committees. So instead of being limited to 14,000 a couple, now you've got 126,000 or more that you get. And I don't have access to committees because I'm not an incumbent, and that's the way the system works.
Okay, so the committees have money available to only incumbents. That obviously is unfair. Plus, political action committees I could start a PAC today and say I'm the John Cornyn PAC that he's not even that he's not involved with, and raise as much money as I want as well. And you can, on the other end, only do the super PACs or the other political action committees, but you have no access to any money from the actual political committee on your party's side. Really?
That's correct. And they go out and they tell donors, hey, we're raising this to run against Democrats. And then they spend millions of dollars. Like, I mean, John's been spending $2 to $3 million a week for months, for weeks, 25 million around probably at this point. It's going to be 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 million dollars of money that these donors assumed was being spent against Democrats. So they don't market this correctly. And they should tell donors the truth. We're not going to spend this money against Democrats. We're going to spend it against another Republican. He may even be really conservative. He may be the Attorney General of Texas. They should tell them who they're spending the money against.
So, in other words, you would like to see a rules change that says that it can only go against the other party. Therefore, I mean, like if John Cornyn wanted to run ads, let's say Jasmine Crockett's going to run for the office too, which she's suggesting she might do. He can run against her, but he can't necessarily run against you. Or are you saying that money should only be available after the primary's over and use that from the committees for the general?
I'm saying two things. The rules ought to be the same. I ought to be able to have access to the same money they have, and I don't. So what I'd rather do is just say, open the rules up. Let's have no limits. Let's do it the way we do in Texas. That makes a much more fair game. It doesn't give incumbents already have an advantage.
Yes.
But that gives them a tremendous advantage when the rules favor their fundraising over the challenger. I think the rules should be leveled. So like in Texas, if somebody wanted to run against me for Attorney General, they could go raise 100,000 from any individual or more, raise whatever they want. That evens the playing field because now challengers have a chance to raise enough money because it costs a lot of money to advertise in Texas. You cannot make it on $7,000 a person. It makes it virtually impossible to be an incumbent. It should not be that way. Yep. If it's going to be that way, we really need to have term limits, like severe term limits, like you can only run one term. If we're not going to have fair rules about campaigns, then you should only have one term because you shouldn't be able to keep running with unfair rules.
I think that makes perfect sense. I didn't even know anything about that, and I do this for a living, as you know. It's Ken Paxton, the current Attorney General of the great state of Texas, running for Senate next year against John Cornyn. KenPaxton.com. Great information, Ken, and I really appreciate you looking out for us. Thank you.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
All right, brother. We're back after this. Stay right here.